Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of Dave Matthews Band. If you've never heard of Dave Matthews Band, they started in 1991 in a little town, Charlottesville, Virginia. Now it's, of course, a lot bigger, and they are still going. They are touring. They've never stopped. And this year we celebrate 35 years of music. So with 35 years of anything, there's a lot of history. But in a band, there's a lot of fans that you've picked up along the way. Whether someone started listening in 1991, 92, in the early days, or whether you've just picked up this band in the last year from a random podcast or radio channel, it's never a bad time to find Dave Matthews Band. This is such an exciting year. And, I've been a fan for a long time, and I'm so excited about the things that are going on right now. And that's the cool thing about Dave Matthews Band is every decade is almost different. And the fans are just so rabid to hear, like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And we're going to tell you why on this story. Why so many fans continue to chase this band. So guys, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, just know that you can watch this on YouTube on my channel. It's simply just called The Space Between Podcasts. So you can watch this one and many more. There's over 200 episodes. I am so excited just to have that many people that thought, yeah, you know what? Documenting the fan journey is important, especially with Dave Matthews Band having a grassroots movement, if you will. Like in 1991, technology looked very, very different than it does now. And to find music, it was a lot harder. So how did they spread across the nation? Well, maybe we'll talk about those things in this episode. And we talk about everything because the people that have found this band have each found it in a different way. But we celebrate together because this music is what we love. So I'm going to introduce the guest for today. Tell us, what's your name? Where are you from? And tell us something cool about you.
Hi, my name's Eric Safstrom. I'm currently in Georgia, but have spent much time actually in Virginia. We lived in the Shenandoah Valley, not too far from Charlottesville. Been there a number of times back in the day. But right now we're outside Atlanta and been enjoying our time down here. And just a long-time Dave Matthews fan. Have kind of a software guy. I work in technology and software and kind of have a recent project that we can maybe talk about and explain a little more about later. But
absolutely. I'm excited to talk about it.
That's just, kind of my thing.
Yeah. So what do you like to do outside of Dave Matthews Band? Are there any like hobbies or do you like to do anything? Do you have a dog? Do you have pets? Tell us something about Eric that's not Dave Matthews Band.
Yeah, I have been a pet guy. We've got a little bird. Actually, I had to put her away because she would make noise. But we lost our dog last fall. But outside of it, just lots of family stuff. Been married many years, have 2 grown kids and things. So just that seems to take up much of my time and things like that.
It keeps you busy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Little golf here and there, but nothing too exciting or crazy.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, let's do it. Are you ready? Let's talk about Dave Matthews Band and how in the world you found this band. Can you remember a time where it all sat with you, where you heard the name of this band or heard this music and you were like, what is this? Do you remember the first time?
I don't know about the exact first time, but I'm pretty sure it was just on the radio, mid-90s there, 94, 95, when What Would You Say was their main hit. So
yeah,
I remember that's kind of the first introduction, I think, was just hearing that actually on the radio. And then, it kind of caught my ear, but it wasn't necessarily an immediate love affair or anything, but
it was catchy, right?
It was catchy.
It was everywhere at the time.
Right. Yeah. And then I think a little later, I heard a live version of Ants Marching. I think, again, just played on the radio. That got my attention a little more. I think I bought the Under the Table and Dreaming album. And then I invested in the Live Rocks double CD set there when it came out in 95, 96.
Yes.
That was the moment. Yeah, that was kind of the moment for me. I was hooked from then forward. Something about again, just the live performances and things and being able to hear that was, that's what hooked me.
Well, what do you think it was that caught your attention? I mean, Dave Matthews Band is very different, especially in 90s where grunge was such a popular thing. And then, you've got Dave Matthews Band, which does things extremely different than everyone else. What was it that was catchy for you or caught your eye and go, what in the heck is this? And I love it.
Yeah. It definitely was being a little different, a little eclectic. I mean, my tastes are a little all over the place. So it kind of just that kind of fusion of a lot of different styles is something that caught me. I think the play of both Carter and Stefan, just the drum and bass lines in particular, really is what kind of caught my attention early on, and still to this day is kind of some of my favorite aspects of the band is just what they do and how they carry things through. So that was kind of the main things I think that drew me there initially.
Absolutely. So different. I don't know if you got to catch the interview that Dave did on Seth Meyers, but he did a really good, did you see it?
Yeah.
I love how they talked about the fans and how it was a grassroots movement. And how Dave was like, we've got grunge, we've got Nirvana, we've got Soundgarden, we've got all these things. And then boom, a saxophone and a fiddle and a guitar. And like everything is so different. Their sound was so different. And that's what set them apart really was their sound, but their look and just the way they approach music. What a great time to be different in the 90s, right? Because when everyone thinks back to the 90s, I do think of grunge first. I do think of R&B and all the cool things that were happening in rap. The 90s were a spectacular decade for music in general.
Absolutely.
But the cool thing about the 90s is also that Dave started and really kind of just broke out of the molds, if you will, and was so different that everybody, at least that heard it, it caught their ear and was like, what is happening here? We've got all these sounds and who is this? And so the guys, of course, have never stopped. Let's talk about, the decades. That's what I like to call it. So we've got our 90s or 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. That's where we are now. So almost 4 decades. We've got 35 years with this band. Let's go through time and talk about what happened after you started collecting those. You've got the album version, and then you've got some live. And then what's the next step in your Dave journey?
It's kind of just sticking with them, I guess, paying attention as things came out. I'm not a huge concert goer, just not, super comfortable with the big crowds and everything like that. So even though it was like, it'd be cool to see them, but at the same time, kind of hesitant. And then
it's a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a lot of people. And then then Every Day came out, and that kind of launched them into the more of the pop stream a little more. And they were playing bigger venues and things like that. My wife got me tickets for our anniversary during that tour.
Good
job.
That
was my first action. So that
she got a gold star.
Yeah, she got the gold star and kind of got brave for me to actually get me into a show, and so that was the first live, true experience live.
Where was it?
It was a little bigger venue. That was at the MCI Center in Washington D.C.
Oh wow!
So that was it's kind of the bigger venue. So I kind of got that first instead of the sort of the amphitheater vibe.
Sure.
Which I did get later. I went to a Hershey Park show a couple years later and kind of got that little smaller venue vibe. So that was cool as well. But yeah, just keeping up with them over the years. It's kind of one of those things you go through seasons off and on. It's like some periods where I'd kind of get away from them, but it's like you'd always come back. Come back to them. And especially because I like the live stuff. As YouTube got popular and him allowing stuff to be recorded and put on YouTube, which is unusual. You were mentioning some of these things that make them different. That's one of the key things. And so here's a guy that doesn't necessarily like going to concerts, but likes live music. And to be able to have all this access that you couldn't have before was really, really cool. And so that's what I kind of always kept coming back to, is being able to see these new performances as they come up and people so kindly put them up on YouTube for us.
Yes. I'm so thankful for all of the people that do the recording, the taping. And of course, YouTube is flooded now with new and old things. So we can really dig into history if we want, or we can ride the couch and do couch tour or watch the after show on YouTube. There is Concert Vids 34. I'm so bad with, is it 34? He does like a post-show review. I mean, the fans have really just made sure that everything is covered. And it's great though. It's like our live news, like, okay, well, what happened today? I got to tune in and see what happened. And they're going to break it down for us and go, well, look what they just popped out of the vault for the first time in 20 years or whatever the story
Right.
is. It's so exciting to be able to have that connection for free. You just got to have the internet, but then you have
Hmm.
all of these things that are providing information, which is great for new fans, right? Even now, if you've just found
Hmm.
Dave Matthews Band, my goodness, you have a library of everything that has ever happened, basically, And
For
there's
sure.
people like DMB Almanac that are
Hmm.
still searching for hidden tapes that, maybe a college concert, a little show that they had at a concert, hopefully someone recorded and will get to them. They're really doing a good job of just making sure this stuff is down. And it's so exciting to be on this side of it because it's like our past has been
Hmm.
recorded, right? The things
Right.
that
Right.
we've
Right.
done for fun and our music, it's all been documented. And so it's
Hmm.
so great. I know a lot of people who don't go to shows, and I always say on this show, like, you don't ever have to go to a show to be a fan, because
Right.
if that were true, then I would not be a fan, because I was a fan from the 90s, until now. And it took me many years to get to a show simply because life was busy. You know how you said
Sure.
Dave comes in and out of your life. Well, when you have three small children, you don't have a lot of time for leaving and
Hmm.
going to shows. And I live in Arkansas, so it was me traveling to go see him or them. And then the internet was still kind of new. And if there was anything on TV, it was probably like whatever was on Disney Channel. So there were times where it wasn't the focus, but it was always in the background, the soundtrack of my
Absolutely.
life, if you will. And so,
Hmm.
and then, we steer and we get our kids a little grown and we get some free time, if you will, which is really not free time, but like more opportunities to sneak in some stuff. And that, boy, Dave Matthews Band came right back into my life. And my first show was in 2015. So I just always like to tell everyone, don't let the internet tell you that you have to go to a show to be a fan and
Right.
get hung up on things like show counts and blah, blah. I love that for everybody. I love it.
Sure.
I want all the opportunities to do that. But you can stay at home and be just as big of a fan. It's a lot to go into any place with thousands of strangers. It's very personal because it's our music, right? We want to feel that safe space. But I don't know if you've ever had the opportunity to really involve yourself in the community. Is that something, a community of fans, is that something that you're aware of or that you've gotten wrapped into even in social media?
To a small degree, not more so recently, but and again, it was sort of off and on. So, like you say, time and things take you in and out. And
Yes.
so, warehouse and things were out there, and I was aware of those things. And you mentioned DMB Almanac, and that's a nice, great reference and things to be able to reminisce and go back and
Yes.
see some of the stats. I'm kind of a nerdy stats guy, and so it's a great site for all that kind of stuff. And
Yes,
and
it
and
is.
so yeah, it was those types of things I know were out there, and like you say, just sort of, but never super. I was never one of these, again, because of time and things. I wasn't one of these super hardcore people that are able to
Sure.
invest so much time and energy into it. But certainly appreciate those that are
Oh my
able
goodness,
to do
yes.
that and
How
all that they do
exciting.
for the community. It's awesome.
Yes. Yes, so many people are recording these things and putting them up on a Facebook group called Couch Tour. If you're not familiar with that, those of you that are listening or watching, it is literally a group on Facebook. You can join. I think you have to answer a few questions that kind of prove that you know what Dave Matthews Band even is, just to keep spammers out.
Hmm.
And then that's it. And you have access to like basically every show everywhere, all over the world, every time it happens in live time. So,
Yeah.
for those of you that are not aware of that, definitely hit that up. I know a lot of people are not social media, like, "Oh, I don't like it," but there are some benefits and a reason just to have a sign in to go to those things and have free access to those
Yeah.
shows. So we're just so thankful for the people that do get to go and record that for us, so that we can keep up with what this band is doing, because they're like you just never know what's going to happen with them, right? Like,
Right.
you never know. You can never predict what this band is going to do, but it's been that way forever, right? And
Yeah.
it's amazing that they keep up with that, but also keep changing the game, right? Like, okay,
And
well, I think they've got this figured out. Boom, let's throw this out and see how they respond. And
right.
and we fall for it every time, right? We're like, that was the greatest thing ever.
Right.
And they
Right.
hear that and they look at that, and I think they're involved enough in what the fans are saying broadly that they kind of receive the message that, okay, they dug that, or I
Right.
don't, that was kind of weird for everybody, and whatever.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. I think they take that into consideration
Oh,
for
it's got to
sure.
be because that's why I think they've been able to tour so long and have such the major following is because they keep mixing things up, right? They never play it the same way
Yes,
twice, and so that
yes,
keeps everybody coming back. And again, that's part of what makes them so unique because that's unusual
absolutely.
in the music industry.
Yes,
So
very
yeah,
unusual.
so
We've
that's
all been to
yeah,
concerts, or if you haven't ever been to a concert of, like, let's say Justin Timberlake, but just because that was the first name that came to my head that I had seen on tour and was like, wow, that's amazing. Like, he does all these dance moves
right,
and all these songs. However, the next night, he's going to go and do that 100% the same way,
exactly same
the
way.
exact
Yep.
same way, the song order, the
Hmm.
dance,
Hmm.
everything. And so there's really no incentive just getting to do it over again. There's no incentive to go back the next night if they're going to be in a close venue because you just saw the show. It's going to be
Right,
exactly the same tomorrow. And most musicians kind of do operate in that because it's just, they know what they're doing. But Dave Matthews Band has never done that. Dave writes the set list, a little bit before the show, just enough time to get the guys, okay, this is what we're doing, get your mind right, whatever, catch up on this song. And then they just come out and it's never the same, always surprises. And even if it was exactly the same from the night before, which it never is, but if it was, they would play it in a completely different way. It's
right, right,
amazing just how flexible they are in with all of these songs and with having guests come in and change up the song a
right.
little bit more too. It's such a fun thing to watch. And, I want to talk about the internet for a little bit, if we will, because we're talking about social media and and YouTube and the ways that we can connect with other Dave fans, but also get information. And I know that you've created a special place on the internet for Dave fans. Can you tell us a little bit about like how this came to be? What was your thought process? And then the execution of even getting this started?
Sure. Yeah. Well, again, just because I liked all the live stuff and just loved watching him on YouTube so much, but was frustrated. YouTube's not really made for that per se. It's a general video platform. So finding things, discovering things that is out there because there is so much is really. There's just not really a good way, good way to do that on YouTube. And so I was, I kind of kept coming across the same videos and stuff, even though I knew there was a lot more out there. And so I just didn't really like the discovery
Yeah.
experience on YouTube. It's just, like I said, not really made for that. So then as I was looking around and finding these other resources and stuff like the NBA Almanac and other things, it started to occur to me that maybe you can kind of marry these things up because we have all of this data, all of the set list information, all this history, and then we have this YouTube information that is of somewhat varying quality, but at least it's out there. Can we kind of marry this up and come up with a way to experience this live stuff on YouTube a little better? So it took some working and playing with, but eventually figured out ways to pull in that information from YouTube, marry that up with the data and information that we have, so that you now can make sort of your own playlist on this website or your own concerts. And so I called it Dreamsets.live because the idea was, kind of coming from the under the table from dreaming idea,
Yes.
but then also just being able to kind of make your own concert
It's awesome.
and picking from whatever performance that we can find. It's up over 3,500 songs now, performances of individual
Wow.
songs that are on the site that you can pick from, which is just amazing to think of that that's even out there.
Yeah.
But that's to catalog that and then be able to make kind of your own playlists and things like that. And so, it's one of those things I've always thought about, never really had time for, but I was also trying to learn some of this AI stuff, in the technology world that's coming out and being able to use
Yes.
some of those tools and stay up to date. So that was kind of a side project to see if I can use AI to help me knock this out. And it came together really nice. So
Wow.
it seems to be something that people are enjoying using.
Yeah, if you haven't been to this website yet, I encourage you guys to do it. Those of you that are watching, the website is on the screen right now, so you can see that. Of course, if you're just listening to this, the information is in the show notes, so you can come back later and look at that and check out the website. I did that after Eric and I talked. I was like, okay, let me go see what this is all about. And my theme song right now, and like the song I want to hear, and I understand that it may not happen, but like, hey, a girl can dream, right? I want to hear Crazy Easy. And so, that's just been played a handful of times. It started 2004, 2005. Then they took a break until 2013, and that was the very last time that they've ever played it was 2013. And so I listened to each performance, but what specifically I did was go from the first time they ever played it and then the last time they ever played it. And the changes, the song itself, it just sounded so different from their very first time of testing it out on stage to the very last time they sang it, which was at the Gorge in 13. It was completely different in its sounding. There was more sax in one version versus the other. And, it's just been really cool to throw those back and forth very easily because I just put Crazy Easy in, boom, it pulled up all of the times it had been played. And I was able to listen to them. And I was such a nerd that I literally had a piece of paper out and I'm like, okay, this is, the first time, blah, blah, blah. I took notes during the song. And then the second time I took notes during the song, and then just compared the notes. Cool. And it was really cool to get to do that. So whatever song you're chasing, or if you're just interested in like the way that their music has transformed from the early years into now, because we know a lot of songs even started out as one name and then morphed into this other song title and is, kind of the same. You can just kind of see where these songs are being born. And now we've seen them grow up and become these great big songs that we all love. So your website lets you feel that and lets you see like, wow, these guys have really just worked on it and made it so awesome, but also done it very differently and brought in guests. And so I love your website. I think it's a very smart idea and you did a great job.
Thank you. And it's I've enjoyed it and using it myself. It's one of those scratch your own itch things, right? So it was just something that I like to listen to and play with. But and I like your use case too, because the cool thing again is because we have all this data is so you can even filter by just the encore performances. So you could just go through and listen to every time they played Tripping Billies as an encore and get that version of it, or just the opening versions, or there's just so many different ways that you can mix things up. And I think my favorite thing is the generate dream set. So there's a little die, like an icon of a dice, and it will. So if you're just wanting to put some Dave on, not necessarily want to mess with picking out your own little playlist, it'll generate one for you that kind of follows their typical, process. It'll try to take a mixture of regular things and throw in some oddball things here and there, play a closer, and then play two encores. And it just kind of in a snap builds your own concert that catches things from all the different eras and things. So that's
what a great way to.
Cool feature.
That's such a great way to really mix it up. I mean, yes, we have things like Sirius XM and Channel 30 that kind of mix things for us all of the time, but this. You really could make your own set or just maybe stick with a year. Could you do that? Like, I only want to hear songs from 1999. Will it do that for you?
I'd have to probably add a filter to be able to do that. It does. You can sort things by age. So but it would be a little bit of sorting right now, but that's probably a good addition I could throw in there. You can do it by venue. So you can just, put in Red Rocks or something like that and it'll pull up all the performances from a particular venue.
That's so great. For all of you that are listening or watching that may think, gosh, I wonder if he has the show I was at back in wherever. That's a great reason to go to the website, check it out. You can relive some of those memories that you used to, that you were a part of. And I love this so much. I love that you built it. And like you said, you built it because it was something that you wanted, but then of course that the community needed as well, because it was something that wasn't being done. And it's just another example of fans of Dave Matthews Band really just putting their heart and soul into projects that are not only great for them, but also great for every other fan of this band. And so thank you for contributing. Thank you for making our fan lives a little easier and not having to search all over the place to find these things. I'm so excited to get to help you kind of spread the word about this. I will definitely talk about it, and because it is something completely different, and you've done a really great job.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a fun little project, and again, it's based because there is this amazing community. And you mentioned like Concert Vids and the markets there, and Chester Copperpot is another one that has done a bunch of
I wish
videos
I could get him on the show.
So,
hello, where are you, dude? Like, I need you. Everybody needs to hear.
Yeah. So it's just because it's just leaning on the backs of the works of what those guys have done, and so many others that have been able to upload things, and so it's just one of those things where you try to mash up some of these some of this different data points that we've got and make something that's a little fun and useful for people.
Yeah. And how did you become aware of DMB Almanac? How did you find that?
I've come across it over the years, just trying to research things, and finding out when he was playing or what was played at a particular venue or something like that. So I'd come across it a few times over the years, but then with this project, I definitely dove into it another layer deep. And it's just
Yeah.
amazing, all of the different
Yes.
information that they've been able to collect there. It's just invaluable.
It's wild. It's amazing that people, again, and not only just their time, but their talents, right? Because running a website and creating statistics that update, pretty much up to the minute when there's a show going on, adding that into all of the other statistics, that takes a talent that not everyone has. And so thankful that these people are using not only their time, but their talent and offering this up for free. Amazing that that fans do that. Just, asking nothing in return, but giving you all this information simply, but it's just because they want to help make sure that it's documented and that you can find whatever it is you're looking for. And they've done a great job of, like, if you just Google or whatever your search engine is, Dave Matthews Band history, they are going to be one of the very first people that show up on your results. And so it's trusted. People use it all of the time. I use it all of the time when I'm trying to really dig into some history, just because I feel like that's the one book that I need that's going to have most of the information that I need. And of course, there are a lot of other websites out there, antsmarching.com. Of course, they have a lot of statistics. They are the ones that own the DMB Hub, which is it used to be just an Apple app, but now I guess just recently they have done it for Androids as well. So that's an app that is a lot of fun to have on your phone, especially if you're, for me, live at a show or watching a show or whatever, of course it stays up to the second of what's happening, and you can click on that song and automatically get statistics and go, whoa, this hasn't been played since whenever, or, this is whatever. And so just all of the fans that have put this stuff together just for fun, but also for everyone else, is really an incredible story, and just a testament of how big of fans we are. We're not casual fans when we're doing things like this. We're really invested into this in so many ways, not only with our time, but just our talents that we bring forward, and something that you were able to do because, working in software, and that was just your lane. And so it makes sense that you were able to do that. So time and talents. We're so thankful for everyone that just offers that up.
Yeah, and again, it speaks to the uniqueness, I think, of the band themselves and the fans of them. Is, again, it's just a unique experience because of everybody's interest and their willingness to put stuff out there, and even the band's willingness to allow people to do that. 'Cause a lot of other bands and things, they got to control and lock everything down, and they don't want to let anything happen.
Right.
It's pretty unique that Dave and the band lets the community do all these different things and contribute and feed off of each other, and it just kind of builds and builds.
It's an old school way of doing music. There's not a lot of performers right now that would allow you to video the whole concert or allow you to just audio record all of the songs. But that's another way that they've just done their music different. It's so helpful. Dude, if you want to record everything they do and put it out, that's doing nothing for Dave Matthews Band, but advertising them for free, right?
Absolutely.
So why not let people do that? I mean, the marketing is done by the fans, and we're so happy to be on that job. It's a job that obviously we both take very importantly. We're just okay, we're going to do this. We're going to make sure that we get all this information out so that someone else can do something else with it. It's really, really cool. And I'm so happy to get to see the evolution of this band and to get to see them when they were, or to listen to them when they were kind of in their infancy and throughout time. And, I love who they are now. This band that we have now, the people that are in it. I've loved everything in the past too. It's been amazing, but we're just not there anymore. And so I kind of focus on what we do have and being so thankful for it, because it can be gone tomorrow, right? It could be gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
We never know what's going to happen.
For sure.
And the fact that we have 35 years, what a gift. What a gift. I mean, who could complain? There's nothing to complain about, right?
Yeah,
And if they
no
keep
shortage of
going,
material.
no,
Yeah.
no shortage of material. I want to ask you a question that was brought up on an earlier show, and I think it's such an interesting question for now, for 2026. And I'm going to ask you just how he asked me, and he said this: do you think the current Dave Matthews Band is interviewing for a fiddle position?
Possibly. Again, they like to keep us guessing. So,
Yeah,
it's hard to know
it's hard
exactly
to
what
know.
they've got going on. But it's really neat. I do enjoy, and part of, like you say, this evolution of the band, because now they have this history and they have a status, you might say, within the industry and so much backing behind them that they can include all these other talented people in that are willing to come play with them. And even we get introduced to them.
Yes.
Like Derek Trucks, for example. Now I've become a pretty big fan of him and his band just
So
because
good.
of being introduced to via Dave Matthews. So
Right.
it's neat to see him then continue to influence other musicians and other musicians be able to come in and contribute a little bit, and then we learn about them as well. And again, it's sort of the evolution of the band since now they're getting up there in age a little more
Mhm.
and been around a while. To be able to kind of pass some of that along is cool too.
Yes, I love that. Introduce us to maybe like the next big thing, the
Hmm.
next big whoever or who to follow. I love that they promote other people and bring people in because we know that they like them, but also just because, I may have never heard of, say, for instance, Jake Simpson. I may have never heard of him.
Hmm.
I don't know the answer to that, but
Don't know
because
it.
of
Yeah,
Dave Matthews Band, he's very much on my radar and everyone
sure.
else's too, right? But I found that interesting that he asked that question just because in 2026 they have brought a couple of fiddle
They
players
have.
out.
Yeah.
And so we're like, okay, we love this. Or,
Hmm.
on the other side, there could be people that don't like this, but it seems like they're doing it a lot and something
They
that they're
are.
kind of focused on. They are aware that there's a whole side of the fan base that really enjoy the fiddle because they like the sound of it, but also because it ties them back to when they fell in love with this band
Right.
and the original sound that it had forever until, 2016, 2017, 2018, whichever,
Right.
when Boyd was left the group. There's a lot of reasons why people like the fiddle. And I think it's interesting that they, again, take that into consideration, right? They
Right.
like it, but they know we love it too. And so it's just a really cool time. And whatever they do, whatever choice they make, whether they bring one in or just keep continuing guests, I'm down for whatever because I
Right.
can't think of one time where this band just didn't have it right. Like where it was like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? This is terrible. I can't name one time.
No, no. And it's because it is different and changing all the time. So in
Yes.
some ways, yes, it's nice having the fiddle player for sure because, we miss that. And it's part of what made them unique initially
Hmm.
and discerning and kind of standing out from the crowd was having a fiddle player like that. So definitely you'd see the need to maybe bring that back from the nostalgia standpoint. But whether they bring somebody on full time or, like you say, just keep having these guests come on, I could see them going either way because they like to keep us guessing, keep things
Yeah.
mixing up, right, and not falling into some ruts or something, but from using the same people. So I could see them going either way with that.
Yeah. It's very interesting. And it's almost like returning back to who they were because when they first started the
Mhm,
band, there were the five. For a minute, we had Peter who played the keys from the beginning. And then, of
mhm,
course, he decided that he didn't want to be on the road. And then fast forward to 98, we get Butch Taylor. So that's when we add in the piano. So I think the way that they're doing it now with Buddy and my goodness, his
mhm,
presence, his talent, just
mhm.
everything about him that glows on stage. We've got him. And then to throw in a fiddle, it's almost like, oh my gosh, we're going back in time. How cool is this?
Right,
But we have like all these really cool people that do sound a little bit different than, of course, the beginning stages of this band. But what a cool thing to do. And maybe even all, if you think like I do, I think, well, maybe they'll end it kind of the way they
mhm,
began it. Like,
uh-huh,
I
yeah,
love that. Yeah, it's not
yeah,
exactly the same, but like the fiddle it was always part of it. And
for
you
sure,
can't deny that. And so there's a deep love from not only the fans, but of course the band as well, because that was how the band started. They love that sound. They loved it. And it's unfortunate all the things that have happened, but things happen for a reason. And I am so happy to be where we are now. And I have no complaints. Again, there's not a day where you could be like, name one bad thing about Dave Matthews Band. The only thing I could name is I don't get to see him enough, right?
right, right.
which I get to see
Yep.
them, but like, it's one of those things that I could take like a daily vitamin. Like I need it every
Yep.
day. Maybe
Yeah.
not live,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I do try to catch Dave in some way, shape, or form every day, whether it's in my car or, on the back porch. It's my daily
Yeah.
dose of Dave, and it's always
Yeah.
just so refreshing, always.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always like, and it's sometimes it's like you feel like I'll go through maybe these little dry spells or whatever where just for whatever reason haven't heard much. And then it was like when you do come back to it, it's like, oh yeah, it's like, coming
Mhm.
back home or something. It's just, yeah, it's always so comforting to come
Absolutely.
back and hear Dave for sure. And all these different people that he's pulled in, it's always, to me, it's always just been the musicality of it that is so amazing, and the talents of these performers. I mean, there's tons of talented musicians out there, but when you
Yes.
can get 4, 5, 6 guys together or people together that are so musically talented and then can riff off of each other and play off of each other, it's just such an amazing experience that, again, is hard to duplicate and you don't see very often because it's just not as commonly heard.
Right. I have to say though, I love the trumpet. I always just when I'm picking a place to be, I like to be on the horn side. It's the trumpet just adds, I mean, the only thing they could bring in that I would just be like, yes, is like a trombone. And I'd be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh my God, we've got like the whole brass section over here and I'm
Yeah, there
down
we
for
go.
that. I'm down for that. But, of course, Rashawn wasn't in the beginning. He came in as a guest and, just like what we're
Mhm.
talking about. And then boom, he was part of it. And so I love the horn side. I never want to lose the trumpet. I think that would take away from everything that they have right now because
Mhm.
I saw Dave and Tim not too long ago. And even though it was so perfect, there were certain songs that they played where I could still hear the trumpet because it's
Right.
just been such a huge part of these songs. And of course, he's just so very talented on the trumpet. It's one of my favorite things. And I'm so glad that they have brought that side in, of course, many years ago. And we're so happy to have that. So, that was a change in itself, was just adding a trumpet and adding these pieces so they can continue to add things. And
Sure.
you never know what's going to happen for sure. But let's talk about 2026 a little bit. Of course, we are on tour. The boys are on
Mm.
tour and they have done several shows. They hit
Mhm.
the road hard and they have surprised a lot of us in the music that they're pulling out this year. Of course, everyone talk about Kit Kat Jam or some of the
Mhm.
really old things that a lot of fans may not even be aware of, that people that are really like historians of this group are just so excited to hear live. But I bet there's a little confusion. I try to put myself into like a new fan
Mhm.
perspective of like, you're not going to find that on any albums, right? Not unless it's
Mm-mm.
a live track. So you're not going to know what this is. But that's so
Right.
refreshing. Their catalog in itself. It's a great question for you. Do you know? Because I've been trying to find out, and I think I could probably do this, but I don't do enough homework. I should just study all the time and get my PhD in DMB,
You
right?
do.
Like, that's what I want. If there was a college program, I
You would
would
be there.
sign up. I would sign up. But do you know, like, what their catalog consists of? How many songs are out there? And I know that can change a lot because
Yeah.
they add things, but around how many songs is that something that you are aware
Well,
of?
I mean, I just glanced, but even on the Dreamsites page, it's up over 300 songs now. So some of those are, little reprises or things of
Mhm.
an original song. So there's some duplication in there to some degree, but it just an idea of how many, and that's just what's out on YouTube that's available of the live version. So it's at least that many.
Wow. Wow. It's a lot of songs, which just, we wanna hear them all, and there's no way I've sat down before in all my nerdiness and go, "Okay, if they did a gorge, all 3 days of just going through their catalog, would that be enough time?" And no, I don't think it would be. I don't think they could
Right.
get it all out in 3 days, which is
Right.
incredible that they could continue to
Hmm.
sing different songs for however many hours each night for 3 nights and still never repeat. There
Never
would
played.
still be
Yeah.
songs that we would wanna hear, and that's just an amazing catalog. The abilities between them, not only being able to professionally play these instruments so well and so perfect to me, but also Dave and of course a few people have helped him along the way, but writing these lyrics, not only to be the musician but to be the writer as well. That alone, that stumps me every time, like
Right.
how
Right.
can one be so talented but
Yeah.
also write these lyrics when he was in his 20s and maybe early 30s that were going to be so relevant for so many years to come, and hit us later in life. Maybe we weren't prepared for that. Let's talk about Pig, for instance. That is a great song. It has an amazing, don't burn the day, talking about, hey, it could be our time up any day. You never know. Maybe in our 40s, 50s, and 60s, that really does resonate with us a little more than back in our 20s. And so that
Right.
song has grown up with us. And we're like, how did he write this back in the day?
Yeah.
What in the world influenced him to write these words that would kind of like stand the test of time, if you will? It's amazing to see just the wizard that he is and able to just do it all. It's incredible. Are there some lyrics, like, are you a lyric person?
Actually, not as much. I mean, I definitely enjoy the lyrics. What draws me more is, I think, the musicality and the talents of the instrumentation side of Dave is what draws me in a little more. And that's what, and kind of to your point too, of all these different songs that he has. And then you throw in the covers that he does, which I know people have different opinions about the covers, but I enjoy the covers because they bring such a different element to these familiar songs. Again, from the instrumentation side of things, they take us on these journeys that are different than what we might have expected. And so they're always just surprising us with the unexpected, even when they're playing a cover.
That's right.
And
like
that's just
covers.
What keeps us engaged.
Covers are, to me, like them singing the music that they like. And I love being exposed to just whatever that they like, because Dave Matthews Band doesn't listen to Dave Matthews Band, right? Like they don't listen to their own music. That's their whole job. They've been doing it for years. So what they are listening to, I'm interested in, because it's kind of, I think it's kind of helped shape who they are over the years. And so it just gives us a little insight of like, where did they pick up all these vibes from? And so I'm always down with a cover. I think there are a few covers that personally, I think they do better than the original person.
Sure. No doubt.
And even my children, who have just been exposed a little bit by choice. They're 24 and 21. Like they're like, hey, it's great and all, but like we don't want to go see them again.
Right.
But there was a song, and I can't think of one right now, but he goes, you know what? I really like that version better than the original person. And I'm like, you know what? It's so true. They just took it, they changed it, and they made it their own. But also, it's so amazing. And so I love covers. I have a lot of fun during the covers. But there's a lot of people that would rather them sing their own music, and that's cool too. But like, again, I'm always down with whatever the band wants. I'm not there for me. Like, I'm there for you to show me what I need to hear. And so, again, they can't do any wrong in my eyes. I love a good cover. I remember I saw a picture at one point where the band themselves was loading the truck, or loading out the truck to go to the next stop to sing. And it's amazing to get connected to the old things, because in 91, I'd love to say I was listening, but I wasn't. I was 11 in 91. I wasn't that cool, because there's a lot of 11-year-olds that are currently checking out Dave Matthews Band, but I was like not the cool girl that was going to flow that way. And so there's just so much history, and I love digging into all of that. And of course, a lot of that is lyrical. So, 2026 is a cool year. It's 35 years. I like to, and I say this every time, I'm just kind of breathing it into existence. Whether it happens or not, it will be a lucky guess if it does. But I have to imagine that they will celebrate in some way. I just believe they won't let this skip. So what do you think about a fall tour to celebrate 35 years? Do you think that's a possibility? I mean, of course it could be a possibility, but would you like to see that?
Yeah. Or I could see them going back to, maybe a 3 or even 5 nights set at Red Rocks or at the Gorge or something, one of these places that they've, just hinged so much on. So, maybe not a full tour, but some special performances like that.
Special.
I could see them.
It's worth celebrating. How many bands have made it to 35 years? There's a handful, right? And I think it's something that I want to celebrate with them. I want this for them to celebrate how long this is all kept together and continued to grow. The fan base is still growing. People all over the world love this music. And it just is an amazing story of music that's just stood, and people have just loved it forever before we were who we are now, and still love it now, and it's still very relevant in our lives. It's an amazing time to be a fan. So, guys,
It
if you
is.
are watching this on YouTube, there is something you can do to help the show. Just simply do the things that your teenagers or that your young children tell you to do, or your cousins or aunts. You got to subscribe, you got to like this channel, and it will alert you to when the next episode is. Of course, every episode is completely different. There's a different fan on the show each time sharing their journey. So if you've listened to Eric's, of course, this is Eric's personal story. No one else is going to tell it the way Eric has told it because their experience is so completely different. And it's beautiful that we all found the same thing, but in different ways. People in every direction. And a lot of fans have ended right here on the Space Between podcast just to document the fan story. Like I was telling Eric earlier before we started recording, the band itself is well documented. We can go through time, and our children's children can look up what was Dave Matthews Band, and they're going to find a ton of information because we have just really put it out, and the fans have put it out and documented it so well. But another side of that story is documenting the fans. Why did they do all this? Why did they love this music so much? Why do they build websites for other fans to go to? Well, that's exactly what the Space Between podcast is recording, is the why. Why do the fans love this? And so every episode, of course, is a different fan. This is episode 210, which means you have 209 other and there's no right or wrong order. Go to episode 45 and then go to 125. It doesn't matter what order. There is no right or wrong. Everyone tells a different story of how they found this band, whether it's been through life in general. It brings us many curveballs, just in growing. If you've been a fan for very long, the growth that we've had in our lives. I have been married and had children and sent children off to go live their adult lives, but all with Dave Matthews Band in the background. And so what a cool thing to that's the constant. The only other thing that's been this constant in my life is my mom and dad. That's it. That's the only thing that's been in my life longer, constantly, my whole life, other than Dave Matthews Band. So what a cool thing to get to think about. What a time to be alive. I am so excited to have this podcast and to hear each story. So if you are interested in documenting your story, and this is a gift for you, like I told Eric, in 20 years, when you rewatch this, wow, you're going to be like, I was a rock star. I was making a website. Like, dude, you were doing it all. And so this is a present for you too, to go back in time and remember the things that brought you to where you are now, and to have that forever, but also to share that with the other fans that want to hear, because Dave fans want to hear Dave stories. That's something that we know. If you ever get together with another Dave fan, they're going to want to talk to you about Dave. That's just how it is. It doesn't matter where you are. I have seen fans in the middle of Walmart, and dude, I can immediately talk to them because we have something in common, and everyone wants to talk Dave. So there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people out there listening to this to hear your journey. There is no journey that is too small or too large. So if you're interested, there's an email on the screen right now, or if you're listening to this on a podcast app, you can check out the show notes again, where you can find his website to Dreamsets.live. That will be in the notes, and of course the description of this podcast, so you can click on that, but also my email. So if you're interested in sharing your journey, just send me an email. It's that easy. You don't really have to say anything other than, hey, I'd love to be on your show. I'm a big D&B fan. Boom. The next step is just me scheduling you, and then we meet together on the internet and we talk Dave for an hour or so. And so that's so much fun for me. In the middle of the day, I got to meet Eric and talk Dave, and that was a highlight of my day. I hope it's been a highlight of yours. Eric, was this really hard? Like, if you could give some advice for other people who were thinking about being on this show, was this difficult, or was it what you thought it was going to be? Because a lot of people look at this as like, oh, this is going to be a really scary scenario, talking to a lady that I don't know and being recorded at the same time. How has it been for you?
No, it's an easy format to work with, and love the way you've put this together, of doing just that, of just letting everybody kind of tell their story and documenting these things. It's a cool format to allow that to happen. So it's really not too big a deal at all.
Awesome. I like to hear that. It's so easy. So guys, don't worry. Send me an email. We'll get you scheduled. We know there are at least, as Dave says, 35,000 fans. We all just go to the same show, right? So we've got many, many more ahead. There's a place for you to come in and get you scheduled in 2026, which is the 35th anniversary year. So what a time to document it. What a time to get your story in on the podcast and share that with everyone else. Eric, I can't thank you enough for just coming forward, offering up your time during the day to share some Dave Matthews Band journeys with everyone else that loves this music so much.
Appreciate you having me on. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Guys, remember you can subscribe and like to everything on YouTube so that you can see who the next guest is, but also follow me on all of the socials. Of course, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You'll be able to see what in the world the Space Between podcast is doing in between all of the recording. The Space Between podcast is on the road, so definitely look for us. If we say we're going to be at a show, it'll be on social media. I've always got tons of free swag to hand out. Some really cool stickers this year I'm proud of that say it's crazy easy to be a Dave Matthews Band fan. I'm just trying to get the word out, y'all. Crazy easy. If it ever gets played, I hope you think of me and like send me a text or whatever, because that's what I've been waiting for is this song. And I know a lot of other people are too. We've got to break it out of prison before all this is over. It's in 2013 and it's just stuck there. And so many things have happened since then. So we need it to break out again. But Eric, thank you so much. For those of you that are listening, thank you so much for tuning in again. If you have some more time, 209 episodes left to go and you'll be all caught up. So guys, in the meantime, I'll see you on the road and on the next show. Peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.